Jamaica is now enjoying a historically low unemployment rate. But where does our workforce stand? This morning, we discussed the growthless job phenomenon following the recent release of a report by Capri in an effort to understand and rectify the concerns. So joining us again is Dr. Damien King. Always great to have him, the Executive Director of the Caribbean Policy Research Institute, Capri.
Morning, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, Delia. Morning, Neville.
What do you mean by a growthless job? What does that mean?
So normally, you would expect the number of jobs and the total output of the country to go up and down together. What we're having now is a situation where over the last 5 to 7 years, we've had a surge in employment. Employment has gone up by nearly 11%.
Which is brilliant.
Which is fantastic.
Okay.
But output, GDP, as it's called, has not gone up commensurately. It has only gone up by 2%. So we have jobs, but it hasn't resulted in economic growth, or it's not accompanied by economic growth. And we are really in an unusual situation in Jamaica. I mean, we basically now have full employment. So this has a lot of implications for economic policy.
Tell me, what are some of those implications?
Well, the first thing is that a lot of our economic framework is built around creating jobs. So the whole idea of a special economic zone, what they call a SEZ, is to try to get people to come and set up factories or businesses inside the special economic zone just so we can get jobs, even if it has minimal impact on the economy. So now that nearly everybody has a job, and workers and businesses in the rest of the economy are struggling to find workers, do special economic zones make sense?
Is it because of the type of jobs that's out there, or that has nothing to do with it?
Well, that's actually quite relevant, because that gets to what is really the root of the problem. We need to understand, why is it jobs have grown so much, employment has grown so much, but output has grown so little? And that has to do with the types of jobs. And the types of jobs has to do with the type of labor we have. It has to do with the skills of the labor force. And what we discovered is that because we have an inadequately educated, trained and skilled labor force, that they really can't do, when you get to the last people in the labor force, they can't do high value added jobs. So we're kind of stuck with the consequence of having inadequately invested in education since independence.
One of the things you see here is on-the-job training is the fastest growing type of training in Jamaica, having doubled since 2015.
Indeed, because we are now in a segment of the labor force, we're having to hire the segment of the labor force that is the least skilled and the least educated. Then the training has to take place on the job.
Wow.
That you're bringing in people who don't already have the education and training that you need. So you need to do it in the workplace.
Does that also mean that we're bringing people from elsewhere to do the jobs that a Jamaican can't do?
Well, you see, again, this is another implication of this unusual situation that we're in. Because the whole apparatus of work permits, the cost of it and the bureaucracy of it, is to protect local jobs, is to prevent foreigners coming in and doing jobs that Jamaicans who are unemployed could do. But now that we have such low unemployment, then the only way for our business to expand, because taking a worker from another business doesn't cause the economy to grow. This business goes up and the other business goes down. So the only way for the economy to expand is to be more liberal about allowing workers to come in.
Yeah. You know what I like about research? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Because I want to stay on that point for a second. I want to use a football analogy. And in England, England say, if you're going to bring Damien King for come play for Arsenal, well, nobody in England can play like him.
Right.
So the only way he gets a contract is if he's better than everybody here.
Exactly. That is the analogy.
That's the analogy.
US does it too. Even for us as creatives, we have to say that there's nobody there that can do what you do. Yeah.
So that means that we're bringing in Damien from foreign because no Jamaican can do what you can do?
Right. But no other problem where even unskilled workers are now employed, for the most part, And so we have that bottleneck of employment in every segment of the labor force.
Wow.
I was saying, research is an incredible thing because sometimes on the face of it, we see things and we say, oh, that's growing. This says there was an 8% decline in national productivity between 2015 to 2022. What interests me are the sectors with the greatest decline. I thought these are the sectors that were the happening sectors. Real estate, renting, other business services, and construction.
Yes. So again, in any economy, the most educated and the most highly skilled are the ones that are going to get jobs first.
Yes.
And so they add the most value to your output. But as employment grows and you're employing lesser and lesser skilled persons, then their productivity is going to be less than the ones that you hired first. And so it's bringing down the average. So because such a small share of our labor force is highly educated and skilled, then as employment grows, national productivity, average productivity must fall.
Yeah. You've thrown in some while you're speaking, but be specific and give me a solution here.
Well, one solution that we have suggested in the report is that we need to have a more liberal regime for importing labor, because there's now a constraint on economic growth. So the Ministry of Labor needs to reduce the cost of work permits and simplify the bureaucracy for work permits. That's one recommendation.
But, sorry to jump in, but I go vex with the answer, but you bring a man to take my job.
Well, he's not taking your job because there's no greater demand for workers than we have workers.
Okay. Continue, sorry.
So he's coming to work alongside you to make sure whatever business you're in does better.
Right.
The other recommendation is whether we now need to be less enthusiastic about setting up these special economic zones whose main job, a special economic zone, is you set up an area or an activity that in some sense is insulated from the rules and regulations and laws and taxes that apply to the rest of the economy. The main justification for that was creating jobs. Now that we've created all the jobs, then we need to rethink whether we still need more special economic zones.
It's almost like a chicken and egg situation type of thing.
Well, it means that our whole economic framework for the last 50 years has been built around a surplus labor economy. And if we no longer have a surplus labor economy, then we need to rethink our economic policy.
All right.
Thanks for coming, sir. Good to see you.
Great. The report is on our website at capricaribbean.org, so you can go and download it. Thanks for having me.
That's what I was going to ask. Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Damien King, Executive Director of the Caribbean Policy Research Institute.
All right, folks, still to come. Real estate as an investment? Well, let's see. Clearly we'll have that one when we come back. Stay with us, please.